All right, so welcome to week 3, DES-113, Typography. And what I'm going to be working on tonight, I'm going to be going through the assignment with you, and I'm going to also do the assessment. So you get a sense of what both of them look like. Again, keep in mind you don't have to do exactly what it is that I do, but you can certainly get some ideas from what I do. There's plenty of information in the assignment and the assessment that you can look at that will help you kind of get yourself oriented. And I'm sure that if you take a look at what I do tonight, that will also help. Okay? So let's get started. Thing. There we go. All right. Yeah. So, wedding invitation. Basically, event invitations are common one-time design elements and typical freelance projects. So, what we're going to do is we're going to make believe that we have this project which is being offered to us, which is a card for a wedding, and we're going to design it. Now, the object here is to combine two typefaces to achieve contrast and create hierarchy in text. So that's really what we're doing here. And if you go back to your discussion this week, we're talking about things such as well, let's go to our, well, we'll deal with that later. Yeah, so anyway, some designers specifically cater to creating wedding and party invitations and custom work for clients. There's a site here, collaborative site, SD. You could take a look at that and get an idea from what you see there. Techniques to create hierarchy in text. That's one of the things that we're focusing on here, is the idea of hierarchy. It's a pretty important point, especially when you're working with type and elements together. In this particular project, we're really not going to be working with type and elements together. We're going to be working with just type. So, but hierarchy still stands in type. You have a visual hierarchy of information when you're working with type. What is the most important thing for the person who's looking at the piece to get? Where do you want their eyes to go first? And basically what you do is you build a hierarchy from that. Whatever's the first thing you want them to see, usually that's the biggest and boldest thing and takes up the most prominent space. And then, of course, you go down through the series of steps, hierarchical steps, to what's the second thing, the third thing, the fourth thing, so on and so forth. So an invitation, like an advertisement or a public announcement, is called to action to a purchase or anticipation of some sort. When designing this type of work, you're dealing with several pieces of information that are separate from each other and may not need to flow in sequence like a paragraph or text. So yeah, it's a very good point. And when you actually see shortly, when you take a look at my design, you're going to see that it sets up a little bit different than what you would expect to see in our assessment this week, which is some paragraphical copy, a headline, and a subhead. So, again, this is a creative environment, and it usually has a slightly different look and a slightly different meaning. Some of the information, okay, we'll have more important. To help organize and guide a reader through this type of information, you need to create a visual hierarchy. So following this link, where it takes you is to this page here. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I'll read a couple of things. The goal of visual design is to communicate how you organize and prioritize your elements, convey valuable information about their relative importance. And what they're talking about here is, you've got a number of different things. In our case, there's going to be a number of different typographical statements, and we need to figure out what is the most important, what's the next important, and that establishes its visual hierarchy. It aids comprehension, reinforces your message, and guides your visitor through the story. What is visual hierarchy? It's an organization of items into different levels of relative importance. I can go on and on talking about this, but again, you read this article. It's actually a very good article. I've bookmarked it for future reference because it's really the first time I'm looking at this myself. Why is it important? Because it more effectively communicates information. As visual beings, we pick up on visual clues to better understand our environment. Web pages and websites have a lot of information to communicate. When we land on a new page, we immediately have some questions. What am I looking for on this page? Where is it? How do I complete my task? Hierarchies help designers enable pages to be scanned and make information easily understandable. So again, this goes on and on. It's actually very good. Shows you a couple of layouts here, talks about them. I'm going to go down to the end here. Let's see here. Let's go down all the way to the end to the summary. Hierarchies help give order. They prioritize items, aid in communication. Visual hierarchies organize, prioritize, and communicate visually by modifying the visual weights different elements carry. What they're saying here is essentially these different weights are visual weights. In other words, you look at the page, you see something, and your eye is drawn to it first. If that takes place and it's your intended element, then your visual hierarchy is in fact working. So really that's what it's about. It's important to remember that before actually designing a hierarchy, we take the time to think about our content and what should be seen as more important on the page. So again, when you design these things, don't just randomly design things. Think about the elements that you have and think about how you will place them and think about how you will place emphasis on certain ones to develop this hierarchy. What mechanisms do you have in the type world? I mean, you have bold font, you have italic font, you have size, you can have leading. There's a lot of different elements that you can incorporate into prioritizing your type to create this hierarchy. It should begin with a thoughtful conversation on the content and goals of the page. Only after you decided intellectually the hierarchy of your page should you attempt to visually design that hierarchy. All right, so again, the presentation on communication with visual hierarchy, there's a PDF that you can download, and I recommend that you do that. Visual communications is part, visual organization is part, visual hierarchy, visual weight, visual relationships, meanings. So all of these things play into establishing hierarchies. Some of these things that you are reading here, you might have some sense of what that means. Visual weight. You know, what is the weight visually? Is something larger and more dominant than the other? That's what they're talking about when they talk about weight. Visual relationships, how close elements are to one another, how they align together. Visual organization, how you organize your page, the elements and where they're placed and what they're placed in close proximity to. Okay, there's one other thing I just want to take a look at down here. Remember, your design is not aesthetics alone. Your web page, and they talk about web page here, and so what? It doesn't make any difference whether it's a web page or it's a card. I mean, the same basic principles apply. It's just that the web page, there's a lot more material to cover on it. Whereas on a card, such as what we're working on tonight in our project, there's less work that you have to do. But these aesthetics and these elements of design are all just as important on a card as they would be as if you were using them on the visual hierarchy of a web page. One thing I just want to look at real quickly before we're done here is the 7 components of design. This is something that I think you probably should look at. You've probably heard of the principles of design. Well, the 7 components of design are very similar. They're rules that we use to guide us through the process of design. And just like the principles of design, which I would imagine you've either heard about already, or if you haven't heard about the principles of design, they are also known as the CRAP principles: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. But these are 7 components of design, and they are unity, gestalt, space, dominance, hierarchy, balance, and color theory, part 1 and part 2. Okay, so all of these things, again, I could spend the entire night just going over all this stuff, but I got other things that I want to do, and I'm not going to. But I'm going to point out to you that each one of these things has a link to it, and I'll just quickly drag it to one of those links. So here you go: Unity in Design, creating harmony between design elements. This talks about that principle and how you go about handling it. So again, these are things that I would look at before you actually begin your project. In your discussion this week, you are working on comparing cards that you went online and took a look at in preparation of creating your card. So that's something else that will play into it, that the fact that your discussion also relates to the idea of creating a card for somebody. All right? Let's get back to the assignment real quick, and let's see here. So different techniques you can use to create hierarchy: contrast in text sizes, font families, and or style. So basically what they're talking about here is that there's 3 elements right there that you can use when you create your card. Contrast in text size. In other words, you're going to see when you get to my card that I've used a number of different sizes. There's at least 2 or 3 different sizes. Font families, I've chosen 2. And I recommend that when you do your cards, you do 2. I don't think you want to go any further than 2. I'm not saying it's not possible to do more than 2, but I find as a rule generally when you're creating things, 2 is a good number for contrast. And again, we're talking about different kinds of contrast, you know, font families or styles. So I'm using 2 different font families and 2 different styles in mind. Okay, and of course contrast in text size, well, that's something even if you weren't using 2 different font families or 2 different font styles, contrast in text sizes you would still be using, because you certainly aren't going to create a card where every line of copy is the exact same size. You have to have, if you're going to talk about visual hierarchy, one of the things that you have to deal with is contrast in size, because one way to establish a visual hierarchy is to have things larger and more dominant than other things. Okay? Different alignments. This is something that I caution you about. When you're dealing with alignments, I don't always use different alignments. I generally try to stick with one alignment. Although I'm not sure, I think in mine I did really go with, I may be wrong, I may have only used one. I may have center aligned everything now that I think about it. But again, different alignments, it's possible to use different alignments. And what I'm talking about, for those of you who may not know what I'm talking about with alignment, you know, center align, flush left rag right align, flush right rag left alignment, justified. Those are all different forms of alignment of copy. That's what I'm talking about. Creating specific line breaks to separate concept. Now here is something, or separate contents. This is something I'm going to highlight for a second, and I'm just going to tell you that one of the things that I did was I went in and I took a look at the copy that I used for my card, and I made line breaks, very specific line breaks, and my intent was to separate content, to give the viewer bite-sized chunks of information that they can sort of ingest and then move on to the next bit of information. So I highlight this and I talk about this one specifically because I think it's very important that you just don't have your copy running from line to line to line randomly. Very specific line breaks play into this in a big way. And I will point out to you that I did this in my card. And I'll talk more about it when I actually get into working with my card. Grouping the lines by using spacing, leading. Line height and leading is something that definitely is an important feature for you to understand as somebody working with type. How close lines are to one another, lines of type, how far away they are, and the fact that you may have certain lines of type very close to one another and other lines of type quite a good bit away from other lines of type. Those things are also very important. And then, of course, adding color. I don't believe this project involves color. We're not really dealing with color in this. At least I didn't get that impression from reading it. I'll look at it as we go through this and make sure, but I don't think we're using color. I think we're using basically a white card and black text elements. That's what I believe it should be. Okay, so size, contrast, and color will help define to the reader the order of importance in the text. Grouping different bits of information together, such as dates or an address, and separating it from the rest by adding space. All this is very logical stuff, and again, I did all of this stuff when I created my card, and if you watch what I do, it would probably give you a pretty good idea of how you should handle yours. Now, also keep in mind that in your discussion, you're looking at cards designed by other people. So what I'd like you to do is, if you haven't done that yet, I'd like you to consider this stuff when you go in and take a look at these people, their cards. Look at how the cards that you're looking at in the discussion handle the contrast and text size, handle font families or font styles. What sort of alignments are they using, and do they use more than one alignment? Look at the line breaks that they make, okay? It's not going to compare to the type you're using, because the type you're using will be whatever type you pick from the assignment pool. But the bottom line is, take a look and see what kind of line breaks they made and why they made those line breaks. Look at the line and see what the line is saying, and then look at the line below it and see what that is saying, okay? And again, whether or not they're using color, I tend to find that a lot of these cards are fairly formal and they don't use a whole lot of color. Generally, they have one color and maybe one color type. Prove me wrong. Show me something different. But I think that's what you're going to find by and large. At least that was my observation when I was planning to do my discussion. All right, let's see here. Grouping bits of information together. We read that already. A single reader, single reference. Combining fonts to create hierarchy. Here we go. Combining different typefaces is an effective way to achieve contrast and create a hierarchy in text. Really good example is a card like we're working on here. Generally, you're going to find that these cards like script fonts. They like hand-lettered fonts. They like that. But that doesn't mean that you want to just go ahead and use nothing but hand letter or nothing but script fonts in your card. Now, maybe you do. Generally, I don't. Generally, what I do is I combine two fonts. I combine a script or a hand-lettered font with something like either a nice serif or a nice sans serif font. That's what I generally do, and I think that's probably a good way to go. And if you take a look at the cards that you're going to be looking at when you do your discussion, look to see whether they're using one font entirely or whether they're using more than one font. All these things are important for you to look at and understand if you're going to learn anything from this course. Okay, font combinations are designer decisions. All of this is a designer's decisions, and each one of you will be the designer of your card. And it should reflect your thinking. It could also reflect some of the keys that I give you when I design mine. I'm not asking you to do what I do because, again, I designed it. I'm just trying to give you some ideas and show you how I would approach it. hopefully that helps you to learn something. That's really what this is all about. If you use a bold font with lots of personality, it will automatically draw a lot of attention. So it needs to be applied to the text that should stand out the most. Really what they're talking about is the hierarchy again here. You know, when you have something big and bold, it's going to have a lot of personality. It is going to stand out and draw attention to it. So again, is that your number one priority for that particular line of copy? Maybe it is. If that's the case, then maybe that's what you want to do. Size and boldness. All right, so for this assignment, you will design a typographic wedding invitation for a fictitious couple. So this is typographic only. Now, when you are working with typographical cards like this, you are allowed to use borders. And if you're going to use a border, then I suppose theoretically you could also use a rule, which is what I did. Okay, so even though it says, you know, you're going to be here using words and letters, that's don't take it completely literally. Like I said, you can use a frame. You can frame your card with a border, which is what I did, and I used a couple of rulers. Since I figured a couple of rules, I should say, because I use the frame. If I use the frame, then I certainly could use a line or two. All right, so I will allow that. Also, what I did was I did some decorative touches to mine using, I went in and used glyphs. I went in and used a couple of glyphs. Now, the reason that I can get away with using glyphs is because glyphs are essentially letters. And it says right here, you're gonna create this card using only words and letters. When designing an invitation, it's very important for it to have a voice and a theme. Obviously, we've talked about all that. So basically, you know, you want to establish that basic look, and that basic theme, that quality, and that hierarchy. So choosing one of the 4 scenarios below, you got 4 scenarios here. Tyler and Marianne are having an extravagant formal winter wedding. Paul and Joan are having a traditional family wedding. Carlos and Olivia are having a destination wedding. Sean and Harley have planned a casual summer wedding. So, you know, you can see right there, they're setting up 4 completely different scenarios, and they would require some different thinking when you create all 4 of these. However, I think you're going to be surprised in the end as to how similar they actually end up being, because the same sort of rules apply. I mean, again, go back to the discussion. Take a look at the cards that you've looked at and see what they look like. You're going to find that most of these people, Tyler, Marianne, Paul, Joan, Carlos and Olivia, Sean and Harley, are going to want them to look in many ways very similar to one another. They're probably going to want some really nice script font, some very formal styling, and very clean and very high-end looking. Those are all the things that these people are going to want, and that's what's going to save you and make this project easy. All right, now, here, and here are where you get the copy. Okay, so there's a doc file. See the one right there, Paul and Joan DOCX? You can download that doc file. And that doc file, I chose Carlos and Olivia, who are having a destination wedding with a relaxed ceremony in the Caribbean. And I downloaded their information, and here is the information, okay? That is the card information that you download, okay? Now, it's raw, and I am going to use this in my card, but I'm just showing you what they basically look like. All right, there's 2 lines here. This line here, invitation copy, cannot be altered except to remove unneeded punctuation. All right, you're not going to use this. This doesn't appear in your card. And this here doesn't appear in the card either. So if you see something like this or like this on any of the other cards, you don't use it. What you're going to use is Carlos Menendez and Olivia Longhorn relaxed destination wedding on the beach in the Caribbean. And notice how they were deliberately broken, and the line was deliberately broken. Now, here they have, with great pleasure, Olivia Longhorn and Carlos Mendez invite you to join them at the celebration of their marriage. Now, remember what it said. You can break lines for effect. So it's Saturday, the 7th of April, 2017, at 6:30 evening. Captain Julia in the evening. Something's missing here in the evening period, I think. Cap Julia Resort, Mandalay Bay, Antigua, dinner and dining to follow. All right, well, actually, that could be a line break. Well, anyway, you're going to find in a minute, I'm going to show you my card. I'm going to go in and show you my card that I did, and I'm going to show you how I broke this. This is what it really comes down to. This paragraph, in my mind, broke slightly different than what you got here. I didn't put it in with just one big blob of copy. That's what I'm getting at. I actually did some line breaking on this, and I will show you that in a moment. Let's just get through with this, though. So your design is to bring out the feeling of the event by your use of fonts, hierarchy, alignment, and color. So I guess you can use color if you want. I certainly did not. I used black and white. So it looks like they're allowing you to use color. But let me see down here. Let's see if that's true. Your skill in expressing these things in your design will determine how the guests see the event and what they will expect. All right, so here are the actual instructions. Let's check this out. Size is 7A. Enclosure, which is 4.75 by 6.75, either portrait or landscape, meaning that you could either have it go vertically or horizontally. I chose horizontally, which is the landscape. One-sided. Again, only type can be used, okay? No images, no graphics, no clip art, okay? You can, however, create a frame around the outer edge of the card, and if you would like, you could use a couple of lines to separate areas of copy, which is what I did. All right. Use the 5 listed techniques to create hierarchy in text. You should have no trouble doing that. Use a combination of 2 font styles to create emphasis. So even here it's telling you that it would like you to use 2 fonts. And what they want you to do is they want you to combine 2 fonts to create emphasis. Now keep in mind that if you're going to use a script font, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to use a second script font to contrast it. Usually if you're going to use a script font, you would contrast it by using something like a serif or a sans serif font. And by now you should begin to understand what these different fonts are from our last week's assignments and assessments and discussion. Okay, simple lines and simple lines, borders, or simple decorative elements available in the font can be used. Be careful not to decorate too much. Good typography should be the center of stage. So really, again, you can use simple lines or borders, but be careful. Don't overemphasize this and use it very sparingly. When you take a look at what I did in a few moments, you will see how I handled this. All right. Now here's the part that I really want to talk to you about. Include a monogram for the couple. This is something. Include a monogram for the couple using 2 to 4 letters. See Week 3 Course Media for information on monograms. Okay. So here's the deal, guys. What I did, I'm going to go into my announcements. What I did right here is Week 3 Emblem Design. Boom. I have created, you have been asked to create an emblem for your clients. My clients are Olivia and Carlos. Here is a demonstration of how I produced one as simple as possible in Adobe Illustrator. It's a short video and you should find it helpful. So there's your link. And what I did essentially to make sure that I had plenty of room, plenty of time tonight to get all this other stuff done, I actually went in and I created a little video separate of tonight's discussion for you to look at, and I actually created my emblem. Okay, so there it is. It's in announcements. You should watch it. I can't tell you how long it is. My guess it runs maybe 10-15 minutes tops. It's not very long, but it will show you how I produced my emblem. And by the way, here is my emblem. That's the emblem that I created for Carlos and Olivia. All right, and I'm going to come back to this in a few moments because there's something else I need to show you. But I just wanted to bring that up. That's the emblem, okay? And there's the video showing how I created that emblem, okay? So now you know how to get to it, and you can take a look at it. All right, let's go back to the assignment. Color is allowed, but use it with care and with purpose. So basically, you can use this as a CMYK project. So yes, you can use color. I was wrong. I did not use color. I simply went black on white, but you can, because again, I was focusing on other things, but you can certainly use color, but keep in mind that color can kill. If you go too far with color, if you go nuts with color, it can kill your design. So be very careful how you incorporate color. Choose the CMYK setting when you set up your document. Save the native file and a PDF version. Okay, so basically what they want you to do is they want you to save your INDD file, your AI file, and then you're going to create a final PDF version of your INDD file, which will be your card. All right, now, this is important. Remember, this is a typographical class. Therefore, the most important aspect of the invitation is the typography. Recommend sketching ideas using using what you learned in your research for this week's discussion. Have fun, but remember that communicating the information to the guest is your first responsibility. I always encourage you to have fun with this project, with any project. Graphic design can be fun, but keep in mind, and I've had this happen in the past where students have said to me, you know, they've handed in some crazy off-the-wall thing and said to me, but you told me to have fun. Yes, I did. I told you to have fun. I want you to have fun. I absolutely encourage you to have fun, but keep it focused on the task at hand. Don't just go off on some crazy tangent because you're having fun. That's not the way this should work, okay? And where it's telling you here, save the native file and a PDF version, the submission instructions are for you to submit a PDF version of the file for grading. So you're going to submit the PDF version for grading, okay? And there's how you name it. So I didn't read this whole thing. I went through a good bit of it. I want to get to work right now so I can get some of this done. So at any rate, you're going to go in and you're going to read this all very carefully, and you're going to use this as directions for yourself, okay? The next thing we're going to look at here is the assessment, okay? The assessment is making typographical decisions. But before we get to that, I'm going to open up my invitation. There is my invitation for Carlos and Olivia. Okay? There is my emblem. Now, let me go back to my emblem for one moment because I want to show you how I would like you to save this emblem, to bring the emblem into this project. Okay? So I'm going to go back to my emblem art. There's my emblem art. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the file. Now, this is basically just line art. Okay? So what this is, it's a form of a logo called an emblem. That's what this is. Okay? And it is part of the assignment. So it's very important that you understand I'm not just doing this because I think it's a hoot. I'm doing it because it's part of the assignment. And I went to the trouble of doing a video for you showing how I created this so that you could get some ideas and maybe come up with something interesting for your emblem, okay? I don't expect you to make it look like mine, but I'm just trying to give you some ideas. But what I need you to understand is if this thing is going to be printed, if you're going to send this to a printer, first of all, mine is, I told you, I just went all black and white on mine. So that's why everything's black and white. But if you're going to send this to a printer, this piece of artwork has to be a specific file format to be put into your InDesign invitation design. To do that, I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to go down to where it says Save As. All right, and now I'm going to bring up my Save As dialog box, and the file name is Emblem. I'm going to leave it as Emblem. Right now, the Save As type, this is very important, the Save As type is Adobe Illustrator AI. If I drop this down, I have different choices. I have Illustrator AI, I have Adobe PDF, I have Illustrator EPS, Illustrator Template, SVG, SVG Compressed. Both of these, SGV Compressed and SGV, have nothing to do with print, so you're going to ignore them for the time being. They are for the web, and we're not working on the web, and when you get to the web, they will be explained to you. A template is what it suggests that it is. It's a template. It's something that you can come back to and use later on. The native AI file is the Adobe Illustrator file. So that leaves the PDF and the EPS. Now, I don't really care whether you save this as a PDF or an EPS. I'm going to do both real quickly. Either one of these two will work just fine in your InDesign invitation for this, and the printer will be able to use it. So these are the two that I would want you to use, one or the other of, and I'm going to show you how to do both. There, I choose EPS, and it's going to go into my DES-113 Typography Week 3 folder, and I'm going to click Save, and I actually already have one in there. So what's going to happen is, since I already have one in there, it's going to save over it, and I'm going to hit Yes, and now it comes up, and don't worry about these settings right now, but what these are basically is a version. There are different versions of Illustrator. There's a bunch of them. And the only reason you would worry about this is if somebody that you are working with had an older version, like CS, for instance. We're at CC EPS. That's the newest version. That's what we're in, and we're going to leave this alone. But let's say, for instance, somebody had Illustrator CS3. You would change it to that file format for them to open it up properly. Don't worry about it. You don't need to do that. The font preview is going to be TIFF 8-bit color. You leave that alone. The background, more than likely, you're going to want the background to be transparency, and as you notice, the transparency is already established in this. I have not created outlines on all my text. Some of my text are still live text. So in that case, I'm going to leave embed fonts for other applications. All right. So I'm really not changing anything. Include CMYK PostScript and RGB files, and I'm going to hit OK. And there is, it's writing my EPS format file. It'll take a minute for it to do that, and it's done. I'll go back. I'll go Save As again. This time I'm going to change it to Adobe PDF, and I'm going to hit Save. And what's going to happen is the PDF is going to come up, and the presets are the one thing that you're going to be interested in here. For now, you can leave it set to Illustrator default, but if you were really doing this, if this was a real project, more than likely the piece would be going to a 4-color process printing environment, and you would probably use that setting right there, which is called press quality. That is a high quality format for this, and that's what you would choose. But I don't need you to change that for here. I will just let you stay at Adobe Illustrator default. Okay, so keep that in mind. Preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. I generally leave that alone, but if you want to send it to somebody and you don't want them to have the ability to edit it, you would check this off. And what it would do is it would make it so you can't edit it. As far as the rest of this is concerned, don't worry about it. I'm just going to hit Save PDF, and I believe it saved that PDF. Yes. And now I'm going to go here real quickly, and I'm going to go to my DES-113, and I'm going to open it up. I'm going to go to Week 3, and I'm going to show you that right there is my emblem, and that is my Adobe Illustrator PDF. I'll show you if I drag this over. Emblem, where are you? right there, Adobe Acrobat document, which is essentially an Adobe PDF. Now here's the emblem in the encapsulated postscript form. So those are the two files that I just created, and both of those files will work well in this project. So that's important for you to understand, all right? All right, so here's my text. Let's go back to my invitation. Here's my invitation, my finished invitation. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the process of recreating this invitation for you, all right? And hopefully by me doing that, it'll give you some idea of how you would go about creating yours. So what I did was I created a secondary page. There's my secondary page. And as you can see, I have my copy placed in here in a non-formatted way, all right? And I even created a little frame for my picture, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually throw this away. I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a text frame so I can show you how to import this text, all right? So I create my frame up here, and there's my little flashing cursor. And I'm going to go to Carlos and Olivia, and I'm going to grab that copy, and I'm going to go, there we at here, copy, all right, and then I'm going to go Command Control V, Command V. Oh, I didn't, did I? Oh, yeah, there it is. Unfortunately, my copy's set to Wingding, so I'm going to just select this, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to change it real quickly to Times New Roman so you can see it. Okay, so there it is. There's the copy. So I basically am just showing you that to do this, you just create a frame. Now, there's my frame, and basically what you're going to do is you're just going to copy and paste the text into the frames. So now I have my frame for my 2 lines at the top. The rest of my copy is going to be situated in this area right here. I have a frame here. This is a frame that I used with a border on it, a 0.75 border right there. All right. It's not that difficult to do. And this is a frame that I'm going to put my emblem in, and I'm going to put that in a second. But I just, again, took one of these shapes and come in here, and I just created a little frame. There's my frame. That's all I did to do that. Okay, none of this is all that difficult. Oh, and why I got that stroke on there? I put the stroke on it so that you could see it. See, there you go. Look, that's the only reason I put it on there, is so that you could see it. Okay, all right. So let's do this. Let's first, before we start formatting this, let me just click on this, and I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to go to Place, and I'm in Typography 113 Week 3. And if you remember what I told you, I have an encapsulated postscript and I have a PDF. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. I'm going to choose both just so I can show you. I'm going to start off by choosing the Acrobat PDF, and I'm going to hit Open, and it comes in. Give it a second. There it is. Okay. So there is my logo in there. Now I'm going to select it, and I'm going to delete it. And the reason I'm deleting it is because I'm going to go back in and go File, Place, and I'm going to bring in, this time, I'm going to bring in the other one, which is the encapsulated postscript. Hit Open. Actually, you know what? Let's go, let me do this. Let me select this thing, and let's go File, Place. There we go. And now let's, when it's selected, I'm going to come in and I'm going to hit Emblem and hit Open, and see it automatically places it in the shape. Now, I don't want the stroke on it once I get that symbol in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to make that stroke none. And now when you look at it, there's my symbol. Okay, so I have my symbol, I have my text, all I have to do is format it. And if I come back to here, this is what I'm looking to achieve. Okay, now, the important thing for you to understand is I didn't mess around with these 2 lines. I kind of left these 2 lines basically alone. Down here, on the other hand, I did do some line breaks. All right, with great pleasure, Olivia Longhorn and Carlos Mendez invite you to join them at the celebration of their marriage. And then I broke the line Saturday, the 7th of April, 2017. And then I broke the line at 6:30 in the evening. And then I broke the line Captain Julia Resort, Maws Days Bay, Anguilla, and then dinner and dancing to follow. So that's basically how I broke this up. All right. So let's go back in and let's look at my copy. With great pleasure, there that is. Olivia, invite you to join them in their marriage. Saturday, 17th at 6:30 in the evening. Capital Julia Bay. Let me see if this is actually broken like that up there. I don't know whether it is. No, it's not. So with great pleasure, watch this. I'm going to show you. Enter. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it breaks here. Mendez breaks here. Look, okay. This is what I'm doing. Celebration of their marriage, and then it breaks there. See what I'm doing? 17th at 6:30 in the evening, and I think it breaks there. There we go. Enter. There we go. That's what we want. I think let's go back there. And then dinner and dancing to follow. There. Okay. So you see what I did? I basically broke all these things like this. Now, if I select this and I come over here and I change the alignment to center, you see how that looks. It looks very much like what I did here. Check it out. Okay, I know the types aren't the same, but you see how it's beginning to set up already? It's very much like what I have going on here. Okay, so I need to just do that and format it. Right? I'm just trying to give you an idea of my thinking and how I work this out. All right, so let's go to here and let's start off by coming up here and let's center aligning this like that. And then I'm going to come over here and let's center align that like that. Keep in mind that if you have your properties bar out here like this, whatever you get selected, you have these settings for. Now, this is your character settings, and alignment is listed in the character settings. And here's your paragraph settings, okay? Now, notice that the paragraph settings also show the alignment settings. So watch. There's the alignment settings in character. There's the alignment settings in paragraph, okay? But there are different settings here, all right? And we're going to use both. But right now, I just wanted to get everything aligned the way it should be. There we go. Okay, so now if we look at this, I'm not really that far off of where I want to be, all right? I'm using, the font that I'm using here is Bodoni, and there's Bodoni, and I'm using this font here, which is Angel Face. So remember, the project is for two fonts. Bodoni and Angel Face are the fonts that I'm using. I don't say you have to use those fonts at all. You can use whatever fonts you want. Just make sure that you use two different fonts to contrast your artwork and make it look nice, okay? All right, so let's get some formatting going here. So the first thing I'm going to do up here is I'm going to come up and I'm going to, actually I could probably select all of this for now, and let's set all of this to Bodoni, okay? Let's start off by doing that, and let's set this to Bodoni. All right, let's go to Bodoni. Where are we at? There we go. Okay, so everything's Bodoni. Now, this line here is going to be Bodoni Black. I want it to be nice and bold, okay? Bodoni Black. Remember now, we're starting to establish a hierarchy. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to establish this line as being rather big. As far as this is concerned, let's see, what size would that be? Oh, what size did I use? Let me see if I can get it here. Yeah, so it's 20. Point size is 20. Whoops. Point size would be 20. So let's take it up to 20. You make it 20. All right, 20. And there it is, nice and big. Now, of course, it's a little close to the top. So what I would do is I would just take the frame and I'd walk the frame down slightly to about there. And then this line here, this secondary line, it is important, but I don't think it's quite as important as the other. So I'm going to change the size of it. And what I did with this was I used 10 point, very small, okay? And the reason it is because I want that help further pump up the name here. All right, so let's go back here and let's set this thing down to 10 point instead of 12. 10 point right there. And I'm going to make it 13, 14, 15 point, I think is what I want. That's probably pretty good. And there we have that. So really, that's all there is to this. Now, of course, if you want, make this easier, you can come over here and just stretch that over to here and stretch that over to here. And now I know for a fact that that copy is perfectly centered. I've decided that I want my emblem to be situated right there. You can put your emblem wherever you want to put your emblem, but I've decided that my emblem is going to go right there. Okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start working with the other font, which is Angel Face. So I'm going to select with great pleasure, and then Olivia Longhorn and Carlos Mendez, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to change it to Angel Face. There it is. So now I've got my lines Angel Face. So let's see, what am I looking for here? Angel Face, I think it's 20. This is, I think, if I remember correctly, this was, let's see, Angel Face was, I think it was 16. 16, and I think this here was, let me see, was 20. Let's make it 24. Yeah, and let's bring it down to 20. 20, 24. I think that's what it was. Let's go back in and double check and see. No, I'm wrong. This was actually 27, and this was 16. So I'm a little off. Let me go back and fix it. 27. All right, 27, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 7. There we go. 27. All right. Now, I need to open up the leading here because the leading is too close. So I'm going to go 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I think probably 20 would do. Let's take a look and see. Yeah, I like that. That looks pretty good. With great pleasure, Olivia Longhorn and Carlos Mendez invite you to the celebration of their marriage. Now, what I did with this was I actually reduced the size of this down to 10 point, and then this is 10 point bold, and this is 10 point as well. And I set the leading to 21, which is opening it up quite a bit. And then let's go in and do that. So let's go here and let's set this whole thing. Yeah, right there. And that I believe is 10. And then go. Was it 21? Did I say it was 21? Let me go back in and see. 34, huh? Oh, no, that's the first line. Yeah, 21. Okay. All right, so there you go. So now let's go back into mine. All right, and what I wanted to do here is I wanted to move this down a little bit. And the reason I want to move this down is I want to put a line in there, a rule. So I went to, what was it? Let me go back and see if I can remember what it was. It was 34. Okay, so we go back to this one. And it is 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. There we go. Okay. All right. So now I have I got a nice open space here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get my ruler, my line tool, hold the shift key down, and I'm going to drag myself a nice line from point A to point B, right about like that. And I don't want it to be too heavy, so I'm going to come down and probably set it to like 0.5. Which is similar to the weight here. Maybe it's a little bit lighter, okay? And then Saturday, again, I want to establish a slightly larger hierarchy here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change this to bold. And now I have that. And then what I'm going to do is, let's see where that line goes. Yeah, 6:30 in the evening. So right after 6:30 in the evening, okay, I go back to this. I go back to Angel Face. Both of these lines are set in angel face. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change it to angel face. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm using the same. I don't know whether I actually used the same. I might have used smaller. Let's see what I used here. I used 21. Okay, 21, and the other is 16. Okay, so this one here, that one, Captain Julia, is 21. Yeah, let's go back from 21. Okay, and then this was 16, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And if I'm not mistaken, what I did with this was I opened it up as well. 14, 15. There we go, 32. Okay, and then this guy here, that line there has to be opened up as well. It's too close. It's 16 over 14, 16, 17, 18. That's probably pretty good. There we go. And then what I would do is I would take this line here and I'd go edit copy, edit paste in place, and then I would use my down arrow key to just walk it down until I find a nice spot halfway between my copy and the bottom copy, which is right about there. And I'd say I'm pretty close to having this thing done. Let's just do some quick checking to compare. I believe this copy here is 21, Captain Julia. Right, so let me see what is different about mine. Oh, I see what it is. Yeah, this guy here, I broke it wrong. There we go. And then I'm going to enter it there. There we go. Okay. And this line here is, this is 16, and this is 16, and this is 21. 20. This should be 21, I think. 21, 21, 24, 23, 22, 21. There we go. I think that's it. There we go. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty much like my original. Okay, so to kind of focus you on, oh, one other thing I did. Take a look. I also created these little fancy things in the corner here. Okay, and I want to do that. I want to actually do that on my card. So let's go back here and let me create a little frame. All right, just a little, actually, let me create a little text frame right like this. Here's my little text frame, just about like that. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to go to my Glyphs panel, and I have them right here. These are in Wingdings. Okay, actually, I don't know whether they're in Wingdings. Let me see if they are in Wingdings. Hold on, let me see. Let's see where they are. Yeah, they're in Wingdings. That's a Wingding. All right, so what I did basically was I placed that in there. And then what I did was I made it, I think I made it a little bit bigger. It's 12. I think I made it 14. There we go, 14. And then what I did was I filled the background of this with white, or paper, I should say, which is white. Okay, so now what I have is I have a little frame with that Wingding with a white background. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up here, and I'm going to position it up in the upper corner, like about like that. Okay, and that, oh, I didn't quite get it right. Let me get it over a little bit more. It probably is right now. There we go. Now, the only problem with this is, let me zoom in on this thing. The only problem I have with this is that the frame is probably too big. So what I'm going to do is going to reduce the size of the frame because I want it to hit just right. Make it about like that, and make it about like that. And whoops, let's see here. Oh, okay, so it's going to be stubborn. Let me try to go to Object, Fitting, Fit Frame to Content. All right, yeah, that makes it a little bit, that actually makes it pretty good. There we go. Okay, so there you have it. There's my little corner. Let's go View, Fit Page and Window. Now, how I handle this, really, is I'm just going to click on this thing, and I'm going to go edit copy, edit paste in place, and then I want to go to the edit or object. Where are you at? Edit. Hold on. Object. Where are we at here? Where is it? Object. Oh, here. Okay, I guess this is what I got it. No. Where's my transform? Oh, here it is. Flip it horizontally. I'm sorry, right there. Flip it horizontally, and then just roll it over. It's right up there on the, right here. Flip it horizontally or flip it vertically. And then I'm just going to walk it over. Shift key to walk it over quicker. I'm going to place it right about where it was on the other side. Get it in there, right? Let's see if that's it. I got to move it over a little bit more. Boom, boom. That might be it. I think I went too far one. Let me go back one. There we go. Okay, so there is my top. I'm going to click on this, hold the shift key down, click on it, and then I'm going to go edit copy, edit paste in place, and then flip it vertically like that, and then just walk it down to the bottom, holding the shift key down to bring it down to the bottom. And when I get down close to the bottom, I'm just going to slowly walk it down. And let's see if I got it. Oh, you know what? Object group. Make this easier. Object group. There. And now if I deselect it, do I got it right? I do. Actually, I think that'll work. Okay, so there it is. That is how I did my card. Okay? Nobody's here, so I can't ask if there's any questions or anything, but that's basically how I did my card. And if you take a look, I've basically used font weight, I've used leading, I've used contrast, weight, and size, scale, more leading, and of course, again, spacing, line height. So that's basically how I produced my card for them. Keep in mind that you can add color to this if you want. I didn't add the color. And don't forget, you have to create that little emblem right there. All right? So that's the assignment. And you can see it's not terribly difficult. You can do this without any trouble whatsoever. Now, I have an hour left. And what I'm going to do in that hour is I'm going to go over the assessment. This is the assessment right here. Let me go to the view menu, and let's go to screen mode, and let's go to preview. This is the assessment. I'm going to build that assessment for you. But before I do that, let me go back to the assessment, making typographic or typesetting decisions. So the finer details in typography are what sets the quality of a professional aside from the untrained designer. Details that the trained eye will pick up immediately in your portfolio can make a big difference. It is very important. I mean, the more you know about typography, how to work with it, how to lay it out, the better you're going to be, because one of the most important things that you will be handling as a graphic designer is type. So since most design tasks involve typography, whether print, web, or mobile application, it's important you're able to make decisions that reflect sound understanding of good typography. It's the details that can kill you in typography. A well-trained eye will pick up uneven spacing, leading, incorrect hyphens, widows, finer touches using the correct symbols and glyphs, sometimes called practicing sensitive typography. So, you know, this is a very important thing for all of you to understand. When you do these assignments, this is a typography class. You know, I don't want you to just slap typography onto the page. I'm not looking for that. If you're just going to come in and slap typography down and not really concern yourself with these finer details, that they're talking about, I'm not going to be able to give you the best of grades for it, because that's what this is all about. It's about training yourself and getting the discipline to work with the type and make the type look good, okay? So concentrate on readability and the flow of text. Legibility and readability of text is a designer's main goal. Legibility is determined by the letters, or by if the letters are large enough and distinct enough so the reader can make out individual words and letters. As we looked over both week 1 and week 2's discussion, classic time-tested serifs often are preferred for print, while sans serifs are usually preferred for the web. This is nothing new. We talked about this already. Fonts are your best bet for body copy, as they are well crafted and designed with clear proportions and the reader in mind. Typeset in all capital letters is hard to read, especially in long passages. Now, there's no problem with using all caps in something like a title, but a title is usually limited to a few words, whereas a body copy, if you use all caps in a body copy, I would never recommend that you do that. It just is not right. So keep that in mind. The monotony of the rectangular shapes of uppercase letters makes them harder to distinguish. Using both upper and lowercase characters not only helps signal a new sentence, but the lowercase letters have more unique and recognizable shapes. Also, keep in mind, you're used to as a reader, as a viewer, you're used to looking at copy that has upper and lower case. You're looking at it right here. So most of the time, this is what you're seeing. This is what you expect to see. If you see something other than that, it can cause confusion or make you uncomfortable. So it really is important to keep this in mind. Readability has to do with text as a whole. Does the overall quality of the page make it easier to read? That's a very important thing, because as a designer, your goal is to make something beautiful, but it's also to make something easy to understand, easy to read. Is it inviting and pleasurable for the eye? You certainly don't want to tire people's eyes out. I know I told you this repeatedly in our discussion last week when we were talking about a light copy, a light font, and a book font. A light font is light. A book font is a book weight. And a book weight, essentially, if you just think about it, it's the kind of weight that you would expect to find in letters such as this. Whereas light, if you used light copy, you would have to strain your eyes more to read this. That was one of the criteria that I had for choosing the book weight over the fine or the light that they had in, I think it was a digital romance novel, and they were using a lightweight font as compared to a book weight font. And that was my rationale, and that is what they're talking about here, readability, you know. The flow and readability of the text will depend on how it is typeset and the designer's choices. The size, the style, the tracking, leading, alignment choices you make as you set the type affects the overall readability, comfort, and color of the text. Now, even though you might be using black, there is still a color that can be perceived. And these different things, the size, style, tracking, leading, and alignment, all helps to set the sense of color to your text. Heavy dark text created by large bold fonts and tight spacing becomes tiresome and bulky to take in. Light text created by small, thin fonts and open spacing can give an elegant or exclusive feel, but takes up a lot of space and becomes difficult to follow in longer paragraphs of copy. This sort of supports what I was saying to you just a few moments ago about those two font choices. Lighter fonts just don't work as well. Neither do heavy fonts. So a book font weight type would be perfect, something like a book font. So when you see something, a font that says book weight, you can pretty much count on that weight as being a good weight for body copy. You'll notice that some of these directions are a bit different from what you learned in your English class or APA or Chicago style formatting. Typography is mainly concerned with aesthetics, which in turn strive for ease, to be easy to read, and visually contribute to the understanding of the context. In setting type for copy, our job as designers is to work behind the scenes and in subtle and most subconscious ways help the reader effortlessly process the text. We are talking about a situation like what we're going to be handling tonight, where we have a good bit of copy that's going to go on the page. The bottom line is you do want to set this up so that it becomes easy for the reader to deal with. Punctuation and special characters. Another way to evaluate your typesetting skills to the professional level is to use the correct punctuation, spacing, and special characters when called for. Talks about dashes and hyphens and how they get mixed up, end dashes and M dashes, the size of an M, as N dashes, the size of an N. They're just smaller dashes than larger dashes. And as a matter of fact, here you can see there's your typical N dash. And if you take a look at this one here, there's an M dash. You can see that it is actually a little bit bigger. This would be the equivalent of an N in that font. This would be the equivalent of an M in that font. That's really what we're talking about. Hyphens are the regular dash that connects words that are split up by line. Quotation marks are also misused. Often you see on your keyboard, it's actually supposed to be used for inch marks. So the inch marks look like this. This is what you see when you look on your keyboard. You can see the two little marks right there. However, you can go into your glyphs and you can substitute them with quotation marks. Okay, and that is something that you might want to do. It's very important that you at least understand these things. Okay, practice your typesetting skills and understand the 19 rules of typography found in this course media by setting the provided text in a document set as an article with a reader in mind. So really what we're doing is we're setting up a page so that it looks like an article. Now, normally, an article will have pictures associated with it, but in this particular case, there are no pictures. We're just dealing with text, and this is all about setting text up. So really, just keep that in mind, too. This is not something that's a complete, entire, article. It's a text article. So everything that we're working with here has to do with text. In this case, there is only one document that we're going to be working on, and that document is right there, and that document is right there. This is the actual document. I've downloaded it. I do want to talk about this in a second. I'll get back to it. But let me just finish up here. The assessment instructions using InDesign. Create a document with the following specs. I'm going to do this. We have plenty of time. I'm going to do this. 8.5 by 11. The margins will be a 1/2 inch at the top, left, right, and bottom, set 0.75. Set up 2 or 3 columns, your choice. So you could do this with 2 columns or 3. I did mine with 3. Create text boxes to fit in your columns. I did that. I will show you how to do it. Copy or import the text from the Word document. I don't know why. They're giving you here again, but that's the copy. That's the copy. I don't know why they're giving you 2 of them, but they are. Don't get flipped out when you see that. Do not include the references. Choose the alignment and the column width that makes for a comfortable read. I'll talk more about that as we go along. Set up paragraph styles for body copy, subheads, and pull quote. I did that. I will do that with you here so that you can see me do it. Choose an appropriate typeface style, size, leading, and tracking for your headline, subheadlines, body copy, and byline. So really what you're doing is you're getting to practice all these things using this particular project. Choose a sentence or part of a sentence for a pull quote and use contrast techniques to have it stand out from the layout. I did that. I'll show you what that's all about. Add a page number folio. I might have forgot to do that. I can definitely show you how to do that tonight if I can remember to do it. And also add the name of the publication, typography, as a footer. I will do that, okay? You will be graded on how well you handle the following typesetting standards: headline, font, style, size, and kerning; byline, font size, style, size, alignment; body copy. So you can redo this and see, but I'm going to show you most of this, and really what it comes down to is it's looking for you to actually manipulate the type this way. I mean, you can't just go in and slam some type down and send it over to me. You have to take a look at what I'm doing, and you have to do these things, okay? And it does want paragraph and character styles, and it does want you to use this in InDesign, okay? So this is all that, you know, you got to keep this in mind, okay? And then, of course, you're going to submit me this as a InDesign file. Submit it for grading. If I can remember, I'll package this and show you how to send it to me. Here's some samples to show you what it looks like. Okay, so there's the instructions. Here is my sample. I have created a second page right there. I have not, and let me go to the view menu, and let's go to screen mode, normal. Okay, now I've created 3 columns. So let me just quickly show you. Let's go File, New, and let me go into New Document, and let me show you how I created the document, all right? And then I'm going to close that document and go back to this one. All right, so I'm going to call this one, the width is going to be 8.5, 8.5. The height is going to be 11. The orientation is going to be portrait, okay? 1 page, starting with 1. Now, it said you can go with 2 columns or 3. I chose 3, and I gave it a 0.1 inch column gutter. Okay, you could make it a little bit wider if you want, but that's up to you. As far as the margins are concerned, remember the margin should be, I gave it 0.25. I should have made it 0.5. Let me make it 0.5, like it should be, 0.5. And then, oops, oh boy, 0.5. All right, and I'm going to link them all. Oh, I don't know how that happened. There we go. Let's try that. There we go. And then break it, and the bottom was I think it was 0.75, if I'm not mistaken, 0.75. Okay, so the size is 8.5 by 11, 1 page, 3 columns, 0.1 inch gutter, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, bottom 0.75. Okay? Now hit create and watch what happens. There. Okay? There is your page. That's how I created it. Now, let me do this. I have mine set to 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I can fix this. So I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to go to Document Setup. And yeah, here we go. Document Setup. And what I want here is, let's see here. Oh, hit cancel. It's not there. Let me go to Layout, Margins and Columns. Let's see if it's in there. Number of columns, margins. Yeah, the margins. Here we go. My margins, I want my margins to be 0.5. Okay, 0.5. And then I want them all to be, there we go. And then I'm going to break the link. And the bottom margin is going to be 0.75, 0.75. And I'm going to hit OK. There. And you see how I've changed that? So now I got my margins doing what it should do. All right? Now let's go in here and let's start the work of creating this page. Oh, before we do that, let me go in and let me close Carlos here and close that. Don't save it. And let me go to here. Okay, now here's something that's very important. Since this copy is the same for all of us, there's one thing that's very important for you to understand. And I can't show it to you other than to click on it. And you see the little flashing cursor there? You see where that little cursor's flashing? That's what's called an extra return. Okay? That's a line space that was added by the person who wrote this copy. You got to get rid of them. I'm going to delete that. And you see how it closed the text up? Now, there's still a return here, but the extra return has been taken out. You really need to go through this copy and delete all of these returns. And I'll tell you why as soon as I get it done. I'm going to go through there, and I'm going to delete all of these returns. There's a number of them. They're all going to go. delete them all. The reason I'm deleting them is because what they will do is they will add extra space. Extra space, and I don't think you have to put this in, or maybe you do. I'm not sure. I'll have to reread it. I don't know whether they had you put this in or not. I think they said you didn't have to. All right, let me explain why I removed that extra space. Everywhere that you saw that line, there would be an extra space. And when you copy and paste this into your document, those extra space will come along as well. And it's going to add the extra space that you can't control. If I want to put space between paragraphs of copy, I will put space after. There's a command that I can use in the paragraphs that are space after. And you'll see me do that when I create my body copy. But just so that you understand, you want to take those space, you want to take that space out, okay? All right, so now let me just do this. Let me go into here, and let me start off by creating a couple of text frames. So this is going to be for my headline. I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to drag a frame over across the top, just like that. Okay, I can adjust these things. Now I'm going to get my type tool, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to drag a frame into the first column, just like that. So there's my header frame, and there's my one column frame. And I actually went a little bit too far with that. Let me bring back the gutter, bring it back to the gutter. There we go. Okay, so I got a header frame. That's going to be my header and my byline. And then this is going to be my first column of text. I need a second column, and I need a third column. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, drag this up just a bit more, make it a little bit closer. That's probably good. So with that selected, the easiest way to do this is to go edit copy and go edit paste in place. And then using my shift right arrow key, I'm going to move that text frame over into the second column position, the center column, like that. And then I'm going to go edit copy again, because I want to copy this one to move it over. Edit paste in place. Hold the shift key down, and I'm going to walk that one over until I get that into the third column position. So now I have 1, 2, 3 columns for my text. Now, what I have to do is I have to link these 3 columns together so that the text will flow from here into here into here. How I do that, it's really very simple. I'm going to click to select this frame. And if you'll notice down at the very bottom there, you see that little square that I'm sitting over? That is called the outport. Right there, the outport. If I click on that, you see how my cursor changed? My cursor changes. And if I go over top of that center column, you see how it becomes a link? If I click, that is now linked. These two are linked. Let's go to the View menu, and let's go to Structure, Extras. Here we go. Show text threads. Boom. Okay. Can you see that line? Can you see that blue line? That's showing the connection between that output and that import. Okay? So I'm going to do it again. Watch. I'm going to select this frame, and I'm going to link it to this frame. So once again, I'm going to come over to my output, click, and then I'm just going to click on my other frame, and now my frames are linked. All 3 of those frames are linked. And you have to have these frames linked. The reason you have to have them linked is because you're going to go into your copy, and you're going to copy and paste the text into those frames. And if you don't link them, what will happen is it'll only go into the one frame. By linking them, the text will flow from frame to frame to frame. You'll see me do it in a minute. So here I'm going to come in, and I'm going to take the headline first. I'm going to select it, edit copy, and then I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to click my header, and I'm going to go Command V, Control V, and I just pasted in Birth of a User by Ellen Lupton. All right, now the thing is huge, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back to Myriad Pro again. I'm going to go with bold. I'm going to go with regular, and let me make it a lot smaller for the time being. Let me bring it down to 12 over 14. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to deal with the head later. All right, click on this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select all of my copy right here. Select all of my copy right up until there. I don't want to click on, I don't want to select the Birth of a User and by Helen Lupton because I already got that. And I'm going to copy it, all right? And then I'm going to click and I'm going to go Control V and I've pasted it in, all right? And yeah, so what I need to do is go Command A to select all of it, and I'm going to bring it down to like 10 point. Let's make it 10 point for now. There we go, 10 over 12, just to start me off. And I'm going to set this to be Times New Roman. Okay, so now what I need to do, there's my copy, and what I'm trying to show you is that the copy has flowed from page to page, or from column to column, I'm sorry, column to column. Once I get this all formatted out, once I get everything all formatted out, it'll fit the page much better. But this is the copy, and now the copy is in there. And you can see that I basically have I have all the copy in here and I have no formatting on it. So what I need to do is I need to begin the process of formatting this. So let me just quickly show you. Let's go into here and let me go to my paragraph styles and let me show you my body copy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the body copy one, and notice what I got here. I got Times New Roman, where are we at here? Times New Roman, leading 15 point, tracking 10. Let's see, basic character formatting. It's 12 over 15, optical kerning, tracking 10. Okay, so that's basically 12 over 15, and then kerning is optical, and tracking 10. All right, so let me hit cancel. And let me go into here, and you know what? Now that I think about it, this is not the best idea because I really need a new page. So let me do this. Let me go back into my second one here. I really should do this. Let me go File, New, and let me go back in and let me create that document one more time. 8.5 by 11, pages 1, columns 3, 5, 5, 7, crate. There we go. Okay. All right, now the reason I'm doing this is, let me go into here and let me get my second page. Let me just copy these elements in here. And copy. And let's come in here and paste in place. Boom. Okay, now the reason I did this is because I have no paragraph. I have no paragraphs. Okay, so what I can do now, I have no paragraph styles. I have no... why is this quote? What's that quote there? Why is that there? I don't know, how did I end up getting that quote? Let me get rid of it. Delete it. There we go. Delete the style. Delete. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. All right, so it's gone. All right, the reason I got rid of that, the reason I actually came in here and brought this in here is because I want to set the styles up. I want to show you how to set the styles up. So to set the styles up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my first paragraph right here just to get started. I'm going to start with the body copy. So I'm going to select the first paragraph, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to set the styles that I want for my body. Now, I've decided I'm going to use Times New Roman, regular, and the size is going to be not 10 point but 12 point, and I'm going to have it over 15, so it's 12 over 15. There's mine, 12 over 15. Now the kerning, what I want to do with the kerning is I want it to be set to optical, and as you can see, did you notice that there was a big jump when I did that? And then the tracking, I set the tracking to 10. There it is. So there's my first paragraph set up exactly the way I want the rest of my paragraphs to look. Okay, now I'm going to deselect it so that you can see it. So you can see it's quite a bit different than the rest of this. Oh, and there's one other thing that I actually forgot to do. Let me select that again, and let me go into paragraph, and let me go into space after, and I don't know what I used. I think I used that. I think I used 0.125 space after. Okay, now here's the thing that you have to understand. I'm basically ready to create a style for my body copy. And once I create a style from this block of copy, I will apply it to all the rest of my copy, and it will all reformat to look just like this. Okay? As it stands right now, this is set up as a basic paragraph style with this override. You see that little plus there? That little plus tells you that there's formatting that I've applied to basic paragraph. Basic paragraph is what this is right here. But this basic paragraph, in this case, has been adjusted, and that's why you get that little plus. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a style. Once I do that, that plus will go away, and I will have a new style here that's called body. I click here, and I go new paragraph style. I change it from paragraph style 1 to body, B-O-D-Y. And I hit OK. And now, look, my basic paragraph has returned. Watch what happens when I click on basic paragraph. You see how it changed back? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the copy. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to come through here and select all that copy, and I'm going to click on body. And look what happened. You see how the whole thing has changed? The copy is now all, let's see if this is right. Yeah, body. There we go. I'm not sure why, but for some reason I got a little bit of an, cancel. Let's see if I got it all here. I think this is giving me some trouble too. There we go. I'm getting some weird overrides on this thing. I don't know why. Why that's happening. There we go. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of trouble with some of this, so I'm going in and I'm fixing it. I noticed that. See, I got that little override there for some reason. But there we go. I think we're in good shape now. So all of these paragraphs now, see that? That paragraph is set to body. That paragraph is set to body. That paragraph is set to body. That. All of these are now set to body. I want you to note right away that suddenly now this has changed significantly, and we filled the columns up much better just by doing what we've done. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to continue doing some formatting. One of the things that I generally do here is I generally take the first paragraph and I change the first paragraph slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the type tool, and I'm going to select the first paragraph alone. And I'm going to come into the character, and I'm going to change it from regular to italic. And I've just changed that. And when I do that, you see how the body now has that little plus sign telling me it's an override and it's italic. You see what it says? It says override, alt-click to clear italic. Well, I don't want to clear it. What I want to do is I want to turn that into another style called first paragraph. Okay? So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go new paragraph style, and I'm going to call this first paragraph. ST. PH. Hit OK. And now I have another style called first paragraph. Now watch what happens. I'm going to click this, come in here, click on body, and it switches it back to body. If I click on it again and I choose first paragraph, it applies my style. I hope you understand that. I hope this makes sense. If I wanted to, I could do something like I could create a drop cap here. If I wanted to, I could go to first paragraph, double click it, and I could go to advanced character formatting, or let's see, indents and spacing. Where we got here? Basic character palette. Let me see. Where are you? Drop caps and nested styles. There we go. Drop caps. So if I wanted to, I could come in here with my drop caps, and I could create a 2-line drop cap, okay? And I'm actually make a 3-line drop cap. There we go. And hit OK. And see, now I've got a 3-line drop cap. So again, I'm formatting the text. My first paragraph now, if I click on this, watch what happens. If I click on that, there is body. If I click on first paragraph, it applies it. Now notice that because I made the change, I went in here and I double clicked on this, and I went in and I made my drop cap change in here. It automatically adds it to my style. Okay? So everything's cool. Everything's good. I'm in good shape. All right, now what I want to do is I want to just quickly come up here and I want to change this to Myriad Pro. And what I want to do is I just want to go, I don't want to go condensed. I think I want to go regular bold. And I think I want to go up to about 35. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. Birth of the User by Ellen Lipton. Okay, so there's my headline. I'm going to leave that alone for a moment because I may have to do some adjusting later on. But I'm going to leave that there for now. And my byline is my byline right there. What I do with my byline, if I wanted to, I can come in here and I can create a character style for this. And let's call that headline. Hit OK. Now, the thing is, I'm not going to be using the headline again. I won't be using it again. But I just created it anyway so that you can see me do that. All right. And my byline, what I'm going to do for my byline is I'm going to select it. I'm going to make that 9-point, and I'm going to make it 9-point italic. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is come in here, new character style, call it byline, B-Y-L-I-N-E, and hit OK. And now I have a character style for byline. If I come in here and click on none, all right, let's see if I can get this to work here. Let me go in here and click on this, and let's go to none. Okay, and let's go to byline. And for some reason, it's just not giving me any change here. Let me double click here and see what's going on. Basic character formatting. 9-point. Let's make it, yeah, 9-point's good. None is, all right, let me cancel. Let me go to none. Okay, there we go. None. And then click on byline. There we go. Now it's working. All right. And if I click on birth of a user, and if I go to none, all right, headline. There we go. There we go. None. Now if I click on headline, there's my paragraph style, or I mean my headline style. Headline. So there's my headline. Those are done. Headline, my byline, those are done. So what I want to do now is I want to come in here and I have to do these little subheads. So let me just quickly go back to my, close my invitation here. Let's go to my assessment. And let me go to my first page and I'll show you right here what I did. There is my subhead. Now my subhead, if I come into my character style, it's not a character style actually, it's a paragraph style right there. If I go to my paragraph style, there's my subhead. Now let me double click on the subhead and show you what the subhead is. It's bold, 18-point, and it's got a space after of 625 IN. Okay, so it's bold, 18. And then space after of 0.0625. All right? All right, so let's go in and let's do that on this one. So now there's like 2 of these, I think. Let's see. There are, yeah, there's 2 of them. There's one right here and there's one right here. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to select this one. All right? Now remember, I'm going to be making a paragraph style out of this in a moment. All right, so right now it's set to the body style. All right, I'm going to set it to basic paragraph. See how if you've set it to basic paragraph, it does that, which is fine because now what I'm going to do is watch this. The basic paragraph is what this is set to. I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to change this from Minion Pro. I'm going to save this to, change this to Myriad Pro, and it's going to be bold right there. And the size is 18, so it's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then I'm going to go into my paragraph, and I'm going to go to my space after right here, and it's going to be 0.0625. Okay, so there it is. There is my subhead. There is my basic paragraph. There is the little plus sign, which tells me that I've created an override to my basic paragraph. And it's going to be bold, 18-point space after in Myriad Pro. So I'm going to come here, click on this, and go New Paragraph Style. And I'm going to change this to subhead, and I'm going to hit OK. And now I have a paragraph style for subhead. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to choose the end of the book, because that was my second subhead. And I'm going to click on subhead, and it automatically sets that subhead into there. There they are. Now let's go to the View menu, and let's fit Page and Window, and let's take a look at what we got so far. So what I'm going to do is go to the View menu. I'm going to go to Screen Mode. I'm going to go to Preview. And so far, that is what I have for my piece. I'm not done. I'm not finished with it yet. I still got a ways to go, but basically it's moving along. So let's see what's left here. Yeah, so I need to do now is I need to come up with a pull quote, and then I need to make a few adjustments. I think this thing here is actually 51 point. Yeah, and I need to make a pull quote. Okay, so let's go back in, and let's first of all set this to be 51 points. So let's go over to the character styles, I believe is where I had that. Yeah, and that is my headline. And let's go to make that basic character formatting. Let's change it to 50. I think I said it was 51. 51. And hit OK. There we go. That's what we want right there. All right. That's much better. All right. And OK. So I hope this is clear. So now what I want to do is I want to do a pull quote. All right. I don't know exactly where I want to get this pull quote from, but what I believe I did, the impatience of the digital reader arises from culture, not from the essential character of display technologies. That is what I believe I used for my pull quote. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I am going to get this copy, and I'm going to cut it. Okay, so now I've cut that copy, and I'm going to go to the View menu. I'm going to go to Fit Page and Window again, and I'm going to drag out a frame, and I'm going to go Control V, and I'm going to paste that in there. You can't see it because I got to go to the View menu and go to Screen Mode, Normal, and now you can see it. Okay, so now you can see that what I've got in here is I've got a pull quote, a line of copy for a pull quote. My pull quote is going to be placed somewhere in the body of my text. So what I want to do is I want to format that pull quote. So if I go back to my original, you can see what I did here. Let's go to my paragraph style, and my pull quote, there's my quote right there. And what my quote is set to is, let's go to basic character formatting. It's Myriad Pro, bold, condensed, and it is 35 over 32. The kerning is optical, and the tracking is 20. Okay, so let's hit cancel, and let's go back into here, and let's see what happens when we put those settings into this. Now, right now, this is set to body. I'm going to click on basic paragraph. Okay, so basic paragraph is what's now associated with that line. And the only reason I'm doing that is because now I have it working on basic paragraph, and I can go in and I can add the formatting that I want. And I've shown you that you could do this. Okay, so It's going to be Myriad Pro, and I used bold condensed. And as I told you, the size of it was going to be 35, so there's 36. We'll make it 35. I'm going to have to open this frame up a little bit to get this. There we go. And this frame is going to have to be adjusted, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. Excuse me. And so select this. It's 35 over, I believe I said it was 32. Okay. It's kind of tight. Okay. It's kind of tight, but I'm doing it for effect. This is going to be a pull quote. And actually, I can make it a little bit wider, make it 33. And then what I want to do is I want to bring this into position. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not quite done. Yeah, I gotta add a couple more things. So 32. And then what I want to do is I want to go to optical for my kerning, optical. And then the tracking, I believe I said the tracking was 20. So I'm going to go to, oh, I didn't want to go to 60. I want to go to 20, 25, and let's go to 20. There we go. Jeez. There, 20. Okay, so that's probably it. Now what I want to do is I want to come over here and I want to place this right there. Let's see where I put it. I put it visual communications. Okay, so I put it somewhere. Let's see where visual communications is. Visual communications is right there. All right, so watch what I'm going to do. Visual communications, I'm going to place my cursor right in front of Y, and I'm going to hit enter to create a space. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring it in to here, and I'm going to stretch it until I can make it reach right there. Okay? And I don't want to hyphen anything, so let me go to paragraph. Let me go to paragraph, and let me not hyphenate. There we go. And actually, let's see. Probably want it to go right about to there. Let's see. Oh, yeah, boy, that's really, I don't think that's going to look very good. Somehow this isn't working exactly the way the other one did. Let me see. Yeah, what happened with this? This is 35 over 32, 12, and 20. Okay, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what's different. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Let me select this guy, and instead of making it optical, let me go to 12. 5. Yeah, come on. I don't know why this is negative. Oh. All right, well, I'm going to go with it. I'll adjust it. Okay, so I got this into position here, and since it's a pull quote, what I want to do is I want to come up here to text wrap. This is important. Go to text wrap, or go to the window menu and go to type and tables, or text wrap, sorry, right above it, text wrap. So open up the text wrap and bring the text wrap over here and wrap around the bounding box. There's no text wrap on it right now, but watch what happens when I wrap it around the bounding box. I get that. And what it does basically is it throws my text around this. And what's going on with this thing? Let me see if I can maybe change the alignment to this. Yeah, see, that isn't going to work. That isn't going to work. So what is the deal with this? I got to make this thing work. Let's see. Here we go. That's probably a little bit better. Let's go with that. Make that a little bit better by bringing that up there. There we go. There we go. Now we're in business. Okay, so that's a little bit better. I had to make a slight adjustment on this thing to get this thing to work, but there it is. You have it anyway. So there is my pull quote. All right, and I do have some text. It's actually overset text. So let's see how much that is. It is quite a bit, actually. Yeah, so I got a bit of a problem here. So let's see if I can maybe solve that problem by bringing this up to about here. Bring this up to about here as well. Let's bring this up to here as well. Yep, I still got a lot more copy than I need. All right, so what I'm going to probably end up having to do with this is I'm probably going to have to make an adjustment on my paragraph style. So I'm going to come into my paragraph, basic paragraph, body copy actually. Let me change the basic character formatting, and let's bring this down to 14. Let's try 14. Let's see what that does. That almost works, okay? It almost works, but what I think I want to do is, I think I want to bring that down to here. Yeah, it might have went too far. Let me bring it up a little bit. Right about there is good. I guess that's where I have to be. Bring that down to here as well, and bring this down to there as well. There we go. Okay, and now I'm just a little bit off this. So let me see if I can maybe do this. Bring it down a little bit more. There we go. And let's bring this down a little bit more. There we go. Okay, and I think that's probably better. Yep. All right, now bring this down a little bit. There we go. So actually what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of playing with this to get this thing looking the way I want it to look. All right, and let's go View. Let's go to Screen Mode. Let's go to Preview. And there it is so far. Okay, so we're actually doing fairly well with this. What we might want to do with this, though, is we might want to open up the space a little bit above this, the text wrap. So by selecting this frame, the text wrap is being applied to the frame. So by selecting the frame, I can come in here and I can add a little bit of extra space at the top of this, like that. See? And now I've opened this thing up a little bit, and I can move it up just slightly and get that centered in there, and I have a little bit nicer space around this. All right, now the problem I'm having right here is I got a one-line widow up there, and I want to fix that. So I'm going to bring that frame down until I can get another line down there. There we go. And now we've got it. Now we've got it. That looks pretty good. Okay? So there it is. Now, there are a couple of things that I might want to do here. Well, first of all, one of the things that I do have to do is I have to put the folio. Oh, and by the way, I can close this up now. Yeah, there we go. All right. I'm going to come to the end here. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to come to the end here. All right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my cursor right here. Okay? And then I'm going to go into my Glyphs panel. And remember, I have these glyphs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click and I'm going to place that glyph right there, but I'm going to add a space. Okay, and that glyph basically indicates that the end of the story is there. So that's another thing that I can do. Let's go to the View menu, Fit Page and Window. And now I've formatted this thing pretty well. I'd say overall it looks pretty good. What I might do is I may walk this up just a tiny bit, like that. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll select all of these elements right here. Let me actually just drag through all of them. And maybe what I'll do is I'll just move them all up a little bit like this. I'm just tweaking them up a little tiny bit. Okay, now File, Save. And this is going to call this my assessment. And save it. Okay, and now what we want to do is we want to place a folio number and a name for the publication. To do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the master page. This is the regular page. This is the master page. When you put a master item on the page, usually the master item will appear on every page. So if I were to create 5 new pages, this item will appear on those 5 pages. So let me go to the View menu first. Let me go to Screen Mode Normal. And there's my bottom of my page. So what I'm going to do is double click on a master. Now I'm in my master page. So I'm going to zoom in at the bottom here, and I am going to go zoom in. Let me see. There we go. All right, and I'm going to create a frame. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a frame that's about that big right there. Okay? And what I'm going to type in is I'm going to type volume, V-O-L, volume, period, volume 3. All right? And Control A. And let's see what's going on with this. What's happening here? What is going on? Why is it doing that? Delete it. Let me try it again. Let me try it again. I don't know why that's doing this. Okay, so there it is. Let's go to Times New Roman. Let's make this 10 point. And let's type in volume. Why? What is going on? Why is it doing that? Why am I having problems with this? Let me try it again. Maybe I had the wrong. Let me try it. There we go. O-L-U, V-O-L dash 3. Okay, so there it is. It's probably the size. So let me go to Times New Roman. Let me go in here. Let me go to Myriad Pro. And let me go Myriad Pro. Come on. Myriad Pro bold. Or italic. That's good. And let me make this 10 point. Why is that big like that? What's going on here? Why is it doing that? Why is that doing that? I don't know what the heck the story is with that. I don't know what's going on with this. All right, so for some reason, this thing is just going to give me trouble. So let me delete that. Let me go out to my regular page here, and let me do this. Let me bring that. Let me bring that up. Let me do it out here, and let's see if I can make it work out here, and then I'll bring it in. All right, so I'm going to type in volume V. Oh wow, what is happening here? What is going on? Why is it doing this? I don't understand this. What is happening? I don't really know what's going on with this thing. Why this is doing this? That is certainly not 9-point type. That's the weirdest thing. I don't know what is happening with this. Let me see if I can do it over. Maybe it's if I try it over here. V-O-L. Yeah, look at that. Look at what's happening with this. I don't understand this at all. Let me see if maybe it has something to do with the paragraph styles or characters. None. Paragraph styles. First paragraph. Oh, I see why. Basic paragraph. There we go. Okay, for some reason it was putting that first paragraph style in there. Volume 3. And let me try here. And let's type in the Digital Maker volume. I'm making this up just so that you understand. There's no Digital Maker. I'm just making this up because you have to put a header in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set volume 3. I'm going to set that to italic, and then what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to set this to be. And by the way, I don't want that to be Myriad Pro. Actually, I want that to be Times New Roman. There we go. And then this I'm going to change from Times New Roman to Myriad Pro, and I'm going to make it bold right there. There we go. Perfect. And now I'm going to go Edit Cut. Okay. And then I'm going to come in here, go back to my master page, and I'm going to go Edit Paste, and there it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over here. All right. Now watch what happens. I'm going to bring this into position. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to change the layout from flush left to flush right, like that. So now the thing is sitting over here, and I'm going to bring it down a little bit, making sure I get it over to here. Okay, so there it is. And now watch what happens. Let me go to the View menu, Fit Page and Window. Okay, now watch what happens. This is on the master page. Okay, so when I come over here to page 1, you'll see, let's go to the View menu and let's go to Screen Mode Preview. You'll see that that appears on that page. Now, if I come in here and if I duplicate or if I make new pages, watch, I'm going to create 3 new pages. 1, 2, 3. You're going to see that every page has that same little digital maker volume 3 on it. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you. All right, now I got a few minutes left. So what I want to do is I want to show you how to package this to send it to me. So let's say you've got this whole thing done and you're ready to submit this to me. What you're going to do is, and just actually, I got one line here. Let me just fix this because I'm really nuts when it comes to stuff like this. There we go. That's going to be much better. There we go. Okay. So let's go File, Save. All right. So you're going to package this. You want to send this to me. You want to package it. So what you're going to do, go to the File menu, and you're going to go to Package. And then you get the Package dialog box. And you don't have to worry about this too much right now, basically, because everything is going to be all right. So you're just going to hit Package. And then what will come up is this. And this just gives you some printing instructions. The file name, we'll put a name into this. I'm going to call this Assessment. Really, it would be whatever the project is. Contact Bill Sweeney. Company name, it will be some company, some address, a phone number. I just put in numbers. Email, just email at yahoo.com. You put your email in, and instructions, you'd put in any special instructions. This is a document that the printer can look at to get that information if he needs it. So I'm going to hit Continue. And what it does is it basically sets up a folder. I'm going to go to my desktop so you can see this. I'm going to set this up on my desktop. I'm going to call this Assessment. The folder name is Assessment Bill Folder. What it's going to do is it's going to copy all the fonts that you used into this folder. It's going to copy link graphics. You don't have any graphics, but don't worry about that. And then it's going to update graphic links in package, which means it's going to reproduce the document in this folder. All right, and it's also going to create a PDF print file for you as well. All right, so this is going to go on the desktop. Now, it's going to be called Assessment Bill Folder. Watch what happens when I do this. Let me go to my desktop. All right, typography. It's going to make me do this. So I'm going to actually put it in typography. Restrictions for copying font software. So basically, this is just telling you that the fonts that you are using, you can use for this document only. You don't have to worry about that. And now it's packaging that file. All right, give it a second. All right, now watch. When I come in here, go to Typography. Where are you at here? Assessment Bill Folder. I'll bring it to my desktop so you can see it. There it is, Assessment Bill Folder. When I open this up, inside here are the document fonts, and there is that little file that if you opened it up is the instructions. There is your assessment. That's your PDF file or your INDD file. And here's a copy of it as an Adobe PDF. Now what you're going to do is you're going to zip this. You're going to go Send to, Compress Zip Folder. There it is. It's zipped. And that right there, with your correct name, the way you're supposed to name this, is what you're going to send to me. Okay? It's 9:01. Nobody's here, so I can't tell if you understand what I'm doing or not. But at any rate, that's it. I got it done for you. That's what you're going to do. Don't forget, I am in Blackboard tomorrow night. I'm not Blackboard. I'm in Zoom tomorrow night for multi-session. I'm going to be calling students. If you need any help or if you want to come and see me about anything that I did tonight, or anything I did in past weeks, if you want to catch up work or whatever, come tomorrow night. So hopefully I'll see you there. Thank you and have a good night.